Alright guys, I just thought I'd make a quick video and just really share some things that have been on my mind that I've been noticing that have been coming up in treatment quite a lot this month. So it is the 28th of January 2025 if you're watching this later on, just to give you some context. So I have been busy tuning into the energetics of this year, and if you are in our mailing list you will have got my little breakdown, but yeah, just to summarize, it is a year where our relationship to our body and our health is really going to be highlighted, and there's a really good reason for that, which has really been on the increase over the last few years, but I really feel like it's this year that this really lands within the majority of the collective, and that is really our heart and our soul being front and center in our life, in terms of how we move through life, how we experience life. I think what we're going to be experiencing is really this switch from a very materialistic, consumerism type way of moving through life, in terms of what can I attain, what can I have, what can I gain, and this like mining really of resources, that actually it's going to turn into something a lot more wholesome as collective consciousness continues to rise on the planet, which is going to be really, really, really beautiful. And kind of as we kind of move through that, we're going to touch on a lot of these higher, more elevated states of consciousness, which, you know, if you've been in the game for a long time, then you're going to be well aware of concepts like unity, oneness, community, collaboration, interdependence, and all of these kind of like buzzwords, right? So we're thinking about you know, just how unconscious and out of relationship, and out of balance and almost like reverence we are for life, for living, that is actually going to come back and be highlighted in our relationship with our body. Because being in a body, and it's honestly, if I had £1 for every time I said this to someone at the moment, I would be making a small fortune, because I think everyone can really recognize on some level that there is this pull, that this desire to know themselves more deeply and experience more of their multi-dimensionality, have a greater expression of who they are, and this kind of realization that they've either been quite limited, and that there are other parts of them that feel quite starved, or perhaps they're even realizing that they've been doing it for other people, they've been living for other people, and somewhere along the line they've really realized that they've lost themselves and they have no idea who they are. So, you know, there's this itch that, you know, they want to get closer to their heart and kind of have a lot more depth and realness in their life, in their relationships, meaning to what they do and what they put out into the world. And my brain's just having a fart as I just kind of really sink into kind of what I want to say. Just bear with me, because it will plop back in a minute. I don't think you needed to tap that, guys. So sorry, spirits just whispering away in my ear. It'd be really helpful if they gave me the thread again, wouldn't it, so I could pick up from where I was. so there's this itch that kind of we want to get to know ourselves better, which is, I think, certainly in January, it's bringing these really big kind of meta questions into focus and hitting us at an identity level as we watch these kind of patterns, behaviors, old dreams kind of come to light and really want to fade away. And so that's it, I've got it now. So because we want to kind of really get in touch with our hearts more, our hearts actually are the bridge between our soul and our humanly experience. And you know, having a body is kind of what it's all about. I just had finished a session with a client just a moment ago, and you know, we were talking about really how difficult it is to blend the soul with the human, and kind of live in this duality and paradox of being a human and having a soulful experience. And you know, I just said, but you know, we came here to experience it all in a body, because you know, that's really the whole point of coming to earth. And if that wasn't the case, then we would just stay in spirit, because that's just all and everything. You know, and it doesn't work like that. We have these bodies because, well, from my own beliefs really, is that life and love, it's a somatic experience. We're supposed to receive and experience life through the body, because it is the sensation and, you know, our feelings around it which actually give us a context, that gives us perspective, that gives life meaning. You know, there was a point in my own journey where, you know, and this was after a really long journey of poor mental health, being absolutely tapped out on medication, that there came to a point where I was just so sick of being numb and disassociated that I really just wanted to feel again. And I could feel that desire to feel really started to outweigh any kind of fear that I had around being overwhelmed anymore. Because of course the point where I actually went on medication and was really bad was because I was just so overwhelmed by feeling. And being numb, I mean, I just felt like I wasn't living anymore, and I was just cruising on autopilot and just a bit meh, which, you know, just, I think I inherently knew that that's not what it was all about and why I came here. And so, you know, the type of person I am, I live for the richness and to experience it all, to experience the highs and the lows. I was like, yeah, I want all of that, because the opposite, which is to feel nothing, was just soul destroying, basically. So, you know, that's kind of where I really landed back on my kind of healing journey and all the rest of it. And that is definitely a story for another time. But you know, I just needed to find a way to get back into my body and feel at home. And that wasn't particularly easy at all, I think, because there's always been this massive soul part, you know, that came in with me, that was always intact, not like other people where they have like an awakening. that I just didn't know how to, I didn't know how to fit it all in. And in fact, for years, even when I first started doing this, it was all very separate. My idea of spirituality and my gifts and my intuition was all very separate to my experience of being in a body. Now, I've wandered off a little bit there, but this does tie me into kind of like the theme around this year, which is, you know, to have more of a soulful, heart-led experience, and the fact that we need to land in our body to make sense of that, but also with the level of disruption and chaos and I was going to say revelation, you know, I think that there's going to be a lot of truth that comes to light this year, that there's going to need to be a degree of flexibility in order to be able to go with the flow, and also not just to fall into a spiral of fear and panic when, you know, these kind of like shudders to the collective and to us as individuals happen. And for me, that kind of learning to befriend my body, to actually recognize that, you know, for all the crap that happened, that, you know, I really felt a victim of for a really long time. And, you know, it's funny because I remember when I did my first round of counselling, I said to she was like, why are you here? What do you want? You know, and you begin talking through stuff. And I just said, I really just want someone to tell me what the right thing to do is. And that really summarizes where I was in terms of a relationship and a connection with myself, because I had zero trust in being able to trust my own ability to make a decision that was right, because that's how far I kind of like wandered out of my body. And that was the like level of betrayal that, you know, I'd been playing in. And basically, to cut a long story short, I had made connection to others a priority over my own authority and truth, to the point where I didn't know what that was anymore. There's a great phrase in somatics around people pleasing, which is basically what I'd spent my life doing, and that is that when you're people pleasing, your body basically belongs to somebody else. And I don't think there was a truer word said at that moment when I realized that. And, you know, as I kind of unpicked it all and began, you know, the practice of tending to my body and listening and all of these beautiful things, so I really had to sit in the grief and the knowing, actually, that my intuition was actually always there and always talking to me, always trying to guide me to peace, to harmony, to a better place. And that was hard, because for as much as it's easy to blame other people and sit in that victimhood and, you know, be like, oh, it's terrible, they did this to me, blah 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 blah, you know, to recognize actually there was a big alarm bell dinging and I still went in the opposite direction, is really difficult. And it takes an enormous amount of compassion and love to be able to recognize that the survival strategies that are at play in order to kind of move away from that, but also kind of like to forgive and unshame the part of you that wanted connection and chose that over your own relationship with your body. That's really, really, really hard. But it does tell you, because quite often when people first come into me, they have no idea. They say, my intuition doesn't work. And it's just not true. It's just not true, because if you have a body, your intuition is there. And it's just like, you know, your gifts live inside of your body. And when we think about being, you know, our intuition, especially in a lot of the new age teachings, you know, we think of it as like drawing down this cloud of information into our brain, the cloud that has all the answers. You know, we're just gonna receive it, and it's very, very mental. And actually, the first gift that all of us have, first and foremost, is the ability and the sense to feel. And in order to feel, we have to be in our bodies, right? And so this is why it's going to be so important, because in order to be able to go with the flow and be able to navigate all these changes that will be coming up this year, and certainly over for the next few years, actually requires us to have a relationship with our body, to be in relationship with our body, because from there, that's where we actually have a sense of grounding, of center, and also safety. And I often describe this as like arriving at a place where no matter what's going on the outside, that when we come to the inside, actually there's a center point, there's an anchor which really just says, no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to figure this out. And that's like such a beautiful thing. I think for me personally, it's been absolutely life-changing, better than any kind of diet, healing protocol, modality, you know, like belief and mindset work. For me, the root to all of that was really just feeling safe in my body and learning how to meet my body and how to rebuild that connection. You know, and from there, you know, my intuition, my gifts, my awareness, and even my relationships have taken on a whole new level and expression, which, you know, is really part of this wholesome kind of trajectory I think that we're all really aiming for. I really, really do believe that. You know, okay, so what do we kind of need to be aware of in terms of maybe not being in our body, and how that's gonna show up this year? So we've got the obvious things like disassociation, you know, where you just feel a bit numb and you can't really feel yourself, and things that make that worse is like fueling your day on coffee, for example, and sugar. So putting these stimulants into the body to give you energy, because underneath it your body's really tired and you're just like pushing your body. Another big one is spending time with people that don't feel good to your body at all. I'm sure that we can all probably think of at least one person or a place where it feels like we're just being wrapped up in a nice comfy blanket, and it's not even like we don't even have to aim for brilliant, like we just feel okay, because I realise that for people with a lot of trauma, like brilliant is going to feel like way too much. So like just okay. And then there are people that literally just feel like they fan the flames of unease, I think. Another really obvious one is the physical expression of symptoms. So for me, because of my work in women's health, this would be like, what's your cycle doing? Our cycle is the fifth vital sign of health. If you have imbalances in your cycle, there's something going on. I think as a woman, it's a wonderful gift to be able every month to revisit our own alignment. But there are a lot of women who are out of relationship with that and actually don't know how to use their cycle as a compass to navigate authentic and embodied living that's in coherence with their heart and all of their being as a complete ecosystem. So what's your cycle doing? And also, like, what are the pains, the health challenges, the things what are the things that you're putting up with in your body that you are kind of just pushing to one side, that does not represent a picture of health and vitality? Because I think, there are all times where we're guilty of, trying to ignore shoulder pain or a neck pain, or, putting up with months of not sleeping properly, or, bloating, digestive complaints. This is the year where those things will get much louder in order for you to do something, because our symptoms are messengers. So they are communicating the truth of where we are, be that what's going on in our emotional body, what's going on in our energetic body, and also kind of like what's historic. So many people that we treat are so stressed that they have just copious amounts of unmetabolized stress in their body, which is just taking up so much space. And all of that just kind of loops until we can kind of metabolize it and reach like a natural plateau or homeostasis, and it's from there that then we get to create and step into the new. So yeah, the body is going to become a lot more vocal as we are guided and pushed to kind of descend into it a lot more. So that's kind of everything that I've been thinking about the last couple of days. And I think the real mastery of this year is actually how we balance and bring coherence to the more holistic essence of mind, body and soul together. So it's really about knowing thyself as a complete system and being able to use, say, your mind to balance your body or vice versa, and having your soul as the kind of seat of your main expression. So yeah, that's what I think. I don't think I've got anything else to say. And this video has turned out to be a lot longer than what I thought it was going to be, but there we go. I do love to talk and I do love to ramble. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think and if it resonates. And yeah, my plan is to do a few more of these videos on a more regular basis, and hopefully I will not get so waffly and I'll be a bit more concise. And yeah, that's everything. All right, guys, see you soon. Bye.